Hello and welcome to this Halloween recommendations video. If you're new here, hi, my name is Hannah. I love stories, so that means I talk a lot about books, TV shows, and movies on this channel. If you want recommendations in any of those categories, consider subscribing for more recommendations. Today, we're going to be talking all about my Halloween recommendations. Starting off with some TV recommendations for you. I am going to start off with two TV show recommendations that aren't inherently Halloween, but they do have some really fun Halloween themed episodes, and these two recommendations are Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Psych. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a sitcom that centers around a police department in Brooklyn, New York, and the quirky cast of characters that work at that police department. And Psych is also a comedy that it's like a comedy murder show. So our two main characters in Psych, they aren't police officers, but they help consult with the police when there's a particularly baffling murder case. Those are just a quick explanation of each of those shows. Like I said, both of these shows have really fun Halloween themed episodes. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, if you're familiar with the series, you know of the Halloween heist. Every year, this police department has a challenge. They challenge each other with this Halloween heist, and each year it gets more extravagant, more ridiculous, funnier. It is so much fun to watch. Those episodes are my favorite episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine to watch, and so every Halloween I rewatch all 4 or 5 episodes of the Halloween heist. On the Psych side of things, there is an episode that I believe pays homage to the movie Friday the 13th. The episode itself is called Tuesday the 17th. So it's got like a bunch of like that kind of tension and that suspense that you feel when you're watching a horror movie. It's very fun. There's some jump scares. That's a fun episode. And then there are also a couple of episodes that are more monstrously themed. There's a vampire themed episode and also a werewolf episode, so you can go check those out. And Psych is just a fun time. Now moving into some more like obviously Halloween TV shows, I'm first going to recommend Lockwood and Co. This show is about a world in which ghosts are just like plaguing the world. The humans are trying to get rid of the ghosts. They're trying to get the ghosts to move on. But the hurdle with this is only teenagers can see the ghosts, and so only teenagers are able to hunt them down. So you have this group of teenagers who become like ghost exterminators, and you follow them along as they're hunting down these ghosts and figuring out what may have caused this supernatural plague on the world. It's a fun show. You should check it out. Next, Wednesday. This is based on the character Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family, and in this show she goes to this special school for magical beings. So her roommate is a werewolf, there are some witches, there are some sirens, there are lots of these like magical Halloween-y characters at her school. And shortly before or after she arrives at this school in this small town, there's a murder in this town that she becomes involved in and has to figure out who did the murder, right? And so there's a little bit of a mystery plot in there, as well as just this really fun Halloween monstery magical setting. Now we're moving on into a vampire TV show. This is an interview with a vampire. This is a newer show. I have yet to watch this, but I've heard really great things about it. This is based on the book with the same name, and in it depicts somebody interviewing a vampire and getting to know what it is to be a vampire. So I've heard really great things about this TV show, and I'm excited to watch it this Halloween season. Another vampire-y show is What We Do in the Shadows. This show is kind of in a mockumentary kind of format, and it's about Victorian Gothic vampires. Like, take these characters like Dracula and Carmilla and Nosferatu, and like take these like, you know, classically Gothic Victorian vampires and plop them into like a modern day setting. That's kind of what this is. It's ridiculous, it's funny, it's vampire-y, it's darkly funny. Like there's a lot of blood. So be aware of that, but it's a fun show. And it is also based on a movie, which I will be recommending and talking about later. Now for a witchy show that I personally want to watch this Halloween is Agatha All Along. This is a part of the MCU. Don't get me started. I'm one of those people that is disappointed in the MCU in the last couple of years. It has kind of fallen. It has fallen. But the show has Patti LuPone and Joe Locke in it, and that was enough for me to be like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. Plus, it's about Agatha, who is a witch, and it's coming out at Halloween time. Like, okay, that was a smart strategy. Kevin Feige, Marvel, Disney, whoever made that call, that was a smart call, because yes, I will be watching, and yes, it is because it is Halloween, and that's about it. The Haunting of Hill House. This is based on a classic horror book. I've heard great things about the book. I've heard great things about the show. I am a bit of a wuss when it comes to watching horror on a screen. I've learned that I like reading about it, but watching it on a screen kind of freaks me out, so I have yet to watch this. It sounds terrifying. It's about a haunted house, and like I said, it's a classic for a reason, because it is scary. And after watching something as horrifying as The Haunting of Hill House, if you need something to feel cozy again, let me recommend Over the Garden Wall. This show is about two brothers who are lost in a mysterious wood, and they come across many magical and kind of somewhat Halloween themed characters and settings. We don't know why they're in this wood, but they're trying to get home. As the show progresses, you figure out what's going on, why they're here. Yeah, it's a great show. I love it. It is fall vibes all the way. Halloween. I love it so much. So it's a little bit mysterious, yes, but ultimately very, very cozy. Next, let's talk about some movies, shall we? I already talked about What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show. Now, as we're getting into movies, let me recommend What We Do in the Shadows, the movie. This is, like I said, a mockumentary style movie. It was directed and produced by Taika Waititi, who I think is very cool. Love me some Polynesian representation in Hollywood. Yeah, the premise is essentially the same. We have these vampire characters who are facing the modern world, trying to acclimate to the modern world. Okay, another silly and kind of darkly funny vampire movie that is a recent release is called Renfield. This movie is about Dracula's assistant, who no longer wants to be Dracula's assistant because it involves killing people, and he's not about that anymore. And so he wants to stop, but also Dracula could kill him if he quits. And so he's like scared to quit, but he wants to quit, and it's very campy and silly and ridiculous and kind of dark. Is it winning awards? No, but it's a fun time. So if you're looking for a fun vampire-y time, check out Renfield. Okay, moving on to some Tim Burton movies, Beetlejuice and Beetlejuice 2. Beetlejuice. This is about a poltergeist who wreaks havoc on this family and this house, and just shenanigans ensue when this poltergeist is brought back to the land of the living. Moving on into some more haunted house movies. Number one is Haunted Mansion, from the movie from the 2000s with Eddie Murphy in it. The ghost story is like a romantic ghost story. It stars Eddie Murphy, so it's very silly, it's very silly in a like made for young kids kind of way. I also want to recommend Haunted Mansion, the one that came out last year. That one I liked better than the one from the 2000s. I feel like it's less silly. Like, yes, there are funny moments. Yes, there are some jokes, but it's less silly. And I don't know. I liked that. It wasn't over the top silly like the Eddie Murphy one was. Okay, for my fans of like Gothic spooky books, let me recommend a Gothic spooky movie for you. This is called Crimson Peak. It stars Tom Hiddleston. So it takes place in like Victorian England, haunted house. There's some spooky stuff going on with the family that lives in this house. Not spooky, but like creepy. We'll say creepy. If you've read Mexican Gothic, the book, which I'm about to recommend in a second, similarly creepy things are happening with this family as what's happening with the family in Mexican Gothic. So that's Crimson Peak. It's Gothic, it's spooky. Now we're going to talk about some books. I had just mentioned Mexican Gothic. Let me tell you a little bit more about that. I read this last year. I got it for my birthday, and I read it last year right before Halloween, and it was perfect. It was This is the first horror book I've ever read, and I loved it. I could feel it in my bones. It was creepy, okay? And I felt it in my bones. The number of faces I was making while reading that book, and like, it's good. It's so good. If you want a spooky, creepy, sometimes gross time, read Mexican Gothic. It is delightful. And as the title would suggest, it's got those Gothic vibes in that it takes place in this like creepy, old, dark, very misty, spooky, atmospheric house. So yeah, it's great. Loved it. These books that I'm going to suggest to you are mostly horror, and that is because I have already created an in-depth guide to Halloween reading. So if you want to check out that separate video that ranges from cozy to spooky, check that out. But here we're just talking about the spooky books, okay? Okay. Next on my list, which is very similar to the last book, is The Hacienda. This also takes place in the Mexican countryside. It also centers around a spooky haunted house. This one is more supernatural. Like the spookiness is more like it's a ghost. That is a Hacienda. I just finished reading it. I had a fun time with it. Definitely recommend it if you like that supernatural horror. The Haunting of Hill House. I mentioned this in the TV show section. This is a classic horror book. And so if you want to read the book before or after you watch the TV show, I will be reading the book this Halloween season and I can't wait to do so. A couple of other haunted house books are The Starling House and The September House. These are both, like I said, they're both like haunted house, and so it's really about like figuring out what is haunting the house, why it's haunting the house, spooky things are happening in these houses. And so if you like haunted house books, there you go. Okay, that is it. That concludes my ultimate guide to Halloween, my ultimate watching and reading guide for Halloween. I gotta work on that title before I post this. Thank you so much for watching. As mentioned before, I do have another video which covers many more books that are Halloween related, Halloween themed, Halloween adjacent, whatever you want to. Halloween books, okay? You can check that out here. Yes, you can check that out here. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope you're excited to watch some of these TV shows, some of these movies, maybe read a couple of these books before Halloween. If you have anything to add to this list, please let me know in the comments down below. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble about stories, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye!